Kale had been alone for 3 months. His small ship drifted through empty space, far from any trade routes or settlements. He was a mapper, someone who charted unknown places in the galaxy. Most people thought he was crazy. Why go to places where nobody lived? Why risk your life for empty planets and dead moons? But Kale liked the quiet. He liked being the first human to see new things. And he was good at his job. The moon appeared on his scanners late one evening. It was small and gray, orbiting a gas giant that had no name. According to his instruments, nothing lived there. No plants, no water, no heat signatures. Just rock and dust, but something made Kale want to land. He could not explain it. A feeling in his gut, maybe. Or just curiosity. He had learned to trust these feelings over the years. The landing was rough. The moon's surface was covered in sharp rocks and deep craters. Kale's ship bounced twice before settling down with a groan of metal. He put on his environment suit and checked his oxygen levels. 6 hours of air. More than enough. Outside, the moon was silent. No wind, no sound at all. Just the crunch of his boots on ancient rock. The sky above was black, filled with stars that did not twinkle. The gas giant loomed huge on the horizon, its orange and red bands swirling slowly. Kale walked for an hour, scanning the surface. Nothing interesting. Just more rocks and dust. He was about to turn back when he saw it. A cave opening hidden behind a ridge of stone. It was big, maybe 20 feet tall and just as wide. His scanner showed something strange. Heat signatures deep inside. Life signs, maybe. But the readings were confused, jumping around. Kale's heart beat faster. This was why he did this job. The unknown. The mystery. He turned on his helmet light and stepped into the cave. The tunnel went down deep into the moon's crust. The walls were smooth, not natural. Something had carved this place. The temperature rose as he descended. His suit beeped a warning, but it was nothing dangerous yet. After 10 minutes of walking, the tunnel opened into a massive chamber. Kale stopped and stared. The cave was enormous. The ceiling disappeared into darkness above. Strange crystals grew from the walls, glowing with soft blue light. They pulsed gently like a heartbeat. The air inside was breathable. His suit sensors confirmed it. Oxygen, nitrogen, the right pressure. Impossible, but true. And then he saw it. In the center of the chamber lay a creature so huge that Kale's mind struggled to understand its size. It was easily 100 feet long, maybe more. Its body was covered in scales that shimmered with colors Kale had never seen before. Deep purples that shifted to green, then to gold, then to something that looked like starlight itself. Wings, massive and folded, lay against its sides. 4 legs, thick as tree trunks, were tucked beneath its body. And the head. The head was as big as Kale's entire ship, with a long snout and horns that curved back like a crown. A dragon. The word came to Kale's mind unbidden, like the creatures from Earth's old stories. But those were myths, fantasy. They did not exist. Yet here one was, breathing slowly in front of him. Each breath moved its massive chest up and down. The scales rippled with each inhale. It was sleeping. Kale stood frozen. He should run. He should get back to his ship and leave this moon and never speak of this to anyone. But he could not move. The creature was beautiful and terrifying at the same time. Then he heard it. A small sound that did not belong. Crying. A baby was crying. Kale's training took over. He moved carefully around the dragon's massive body, following the sound. His light swept across the cave floor. And there, nestled against the dragon's front leg, was a human infant, a baby. Maybe 6 months old. She wore simple cloth wrappings and lay on what looked like soft moss. Her tiny fists waved in the air as she cried. Her face was red and scrunched up. Kyle's mind raced. How? Why? What was a human baby doing here, next to a sleeping dragon on a dead moon in the middle of nowhere? He approached slowly. The baby's cries echoed in the chamber. Surely the dragon would wake. Surely this was a trap or a dream or something his oxygen-starved brain was imagining. But the baby was real. When Kale knelt down beside her, she turned her head toward him. Her eyes were blue, bright and clear, and on her forehead, just above her eyebrows, was a mark. It glowed faintly, the same color as the dragon's scales, a symbol that looked like a spiral or a star. It's okay, Kale whispered. I've got you. He reached out and picked up the child. She was warm and surprisingly heavy. The moment his hands touched her, she stopped crying. She looked up at him with those bright eyes and made a small cooing sound. That was when the dragon's eyes opened. Kyle's blood turned to ice. He could not breathe, could not think. The dragon's eyes were huge, each one bigger than Kale's helmet, but they did not look like normal eyes. Inside each pupil, Kale saw stars. Real stars. Galaxies swirled in those eyes, nebulas of color and light. It was like looking into deep space itself. The dragon did not move. It simply watched. Kyle held the baby close to his chest. He waited for fire, for claws, for death, but nothing happened. Slowly, carefully, the dragon lowered its massive head. Its snout came down until it was level with Kyle. Hot breath washed over him, smelling of something ancient and strange. Not unpleasant, just different. Like metal and flowers and lightning all mixed together, the dragon's eyes met his, and in that moment Kyle understood. He did not know how. There were no words, no sounds. But knowledge flooded his mind like water breaking through a dam. The dragon was not a threat. It had been waiting. Waiting for someone to come. Waiting for someone to find the child. The baby made another cooing sound. She reached out one tiny hand toward the dragon's scales. The dragon did not pull away. Kale's fear began to fade, replaced by wonder and 1,000 questions. But he knew somehow that the answers would come later. Right now, the dragon was giving him permission. Permission to take the child. Permission to leave. The dragon's eyes closed slowly, deliberately, a blink that seemed to say goodbye or thank you or perhaps see you soon. Kyle did not waste time. Holding the baby carefully, he walked backward toward the tunnel. The dragon did not move. The glowing crystals pulsed their steady rhythm. Everything felt strange and dreamlike. Only when he reached the tunnel entrance did Kale turn and run. The baby bounced in his arms but did not cry. She seemed content, even happy. The climb back to the surface felt like it took forever. Kale's lungs burned. His legs ached. But he did not stop until he saw stars above and felt the crunch of moon dust under his boots. His ship waited where he left it. He rushed inside, sealing the airlock behind him. Only then did he let himself breathe. The baby looked up at him and smiled. The mark on her forehead glowed softly in the ship's dim light. Kyle set course away from the moon, away from that impossible cave and that impossible creature. But as his ship lifted off and the moon shrank behind him, he felt something. A presence. A gaze. He looked at his rear cameras. Far below, barely visible, he saw a flicker of light from the cave entrance. 2 points of light bright against the darkness. The dragon was watching him leave. Kale held the baby close and whispered, "What have I gotten myself into?" The baby just laughed as if she knew a secret that he did not. And the mark on her forehead pulsed once like a heartbeat before fading to a dull glow. Space stretched out before them, dark and full of mysteries. Kale had mapped hundreds of worlds, but he knew that this journey, this discovery, would change everything. He just did not know how much. 3 days had passed since Kale left the moon. 3 days of the strangest experience in his life, and he had seen many strange things. The baby did not cry for food. At first, Kale panicked. He had emergency rations, but nothing suitable for an infant. He tried to make a soft paste from protein bars and water. The baby looked at it, made a face, and pushed it away with her tiny hand. But she did not seem hungry. She did not seem to need anything, really. She slept peacefully in a nest of blankets Kale made for her. When she was awake, she watched everything with those bright blue eyes. The mark on her forehead glowed faintly, always there, never fading completely. Kyle named her Lyra, after a constellation his mother used to show him when he was young. On the 3rd day, something happened that made Kale realize how different Lyra truly was. His ship's hull was old. Kale kept it running through constant repairs and good luck. But luck ran out sometimes. An alarm screamed through the cabin. Red lights flashed. Hull breach in Section C. A small crack, maybe from a micrometeorite. Not big, but in space any hole was dangerous. Kale grabbed his helmet and ran toward the breach. Behind him, Lyra sat in her blanket nest. The cabin pressure was dropping fast. In seconds, she would be exposed to vacuum. No! Kale screamed. He tried to turn back, but his body would not move fast enough. His mind showed him terrible images. The baby gasping for air that was not there. Her small body frozen in space. But when he looked back, Lyra was fine. She sat in her blankets, completely calm. The air around her shimmered like heat waves on a desert road. A bubble of something, some kind of shield, surrounded her. While the rest of the cabin lost pressure, She breathed normally. She even smiled at him. Cale stared for a full second before his training kicked in. He sealed the breach with emergency foam and restored cabin pressure. The whole time Lyra watched him with interest, as if this was all a fun game. When everything was stable again, Cale collapsed in his pilot chair. His hands shook. "What are you?" he whispered. Lyra just made happy baby sounds and grabbed at her toes. That night, Cale could not sleep. He lay in his bunk and stared at the ceiling. Questions spun through his mind. Where did Lyra come from? Why was she with the dragon? What was that mark on her head? And why did it feel like the dragon had chosen him specifically? He must have drifted off eventually because he found himself in a dream. He stood in the cave again, but it was different. Bigger. The crystals shone brighter, and the dragon was awake, standing on all four legs, magnificent and terrible. "You have questions?" The voice came from everywhere and nowhere. It was not sound, but meaning that appeared directly in Cale's mind. "Yes," Cale said, or thought. In the dream it was the same thing. The dragon's eyes fixed on him, those galaxies swirling in their depths. "I am Valther. I am one of the primordials. We existed before most of the species, you know. Before empires rose and fell. Before your kind learned to walk upright." Kyle wanted to ask 1,000 questions, but he stayed quiet. Somehow he knew the dragon would explain. "The child is not fully human," Valther continued. "She is a bridge. Between your kind and the old ways. Between flesh and energy. Between what is and what will be." "I don't understand," Cale said. "Humanity stands at a crossroads," Valther said. The dream around them changed. Cale saw stars, planets, great ships moving between them. "Your species is young but powerful. You spread quickly. You adapt. You survive where others would perish. This frightens the old powers." The scene shifted again. Now Cale saw massive structures in space, cities that orbited stars, fleets of warships bigger than anything humans had built. "The Concordium," Valther said. "A union of species that has ruled this part of the galaxy for 10,000 years. They watch humanity with fear and suspicion." "Why?" Cale asked. "Because you are unpredictable. Because you do not accept limits. Because in a few thousand years you might challenge their control." The dragon's voice held something that might have been approval. "They have destroyed promising species before when they became threats." Cale felt cold despite the dream. "They would destroy us? All of humanity? They would try to control you first. Limit your expansion. Regulate your technology. But if that failed, yes, they would extinguish your light before it grew too bright. And Lyra?" The dream focused on the baby, sleeping peacefully in her blankets aboard the ship. "She is a gift. And a test. Created with primordial knowledge and human essence. If she grows and thrives, she will show the galaxy what humanity can become. She will be proof that your kind deserves a place among the stars." "But if she doesn't?" Cale asked quietly. Valther's eyes dimmed. "Then the Concordium will have their evidence that humanity must be contained. They watch even now. My awakening sent ripples through space. They know something has changed. They will search for the source. So I'm just supposed to raise her?" Cale felt anger rising. "I'm just a mapper. I know nothing about children. Nothing about cosmic powers or ancient beings. Why me?" "Because you were curious enough to explore an empty moon," Valther said. "Because you were brave enough to enter my cave. Because when you saw the child, your first thought was to save her, not to question why she was there. Because you possess the qualities humanity needs most: curiosity, courage, and compassion." The dream began to fade. Cale felt himself being pulled back toward consciousness. "Wait," he called. "I need to know more. What do I do? How do I protect her?" "Raise her as human." Valther's voice echoed from far away. "Teach her human values. Human strength comes not from power, but from the choices you make when you have none. Remember that." "Will I see you again?" Cale asked. "When the time comes," the dragon said. "I sleep now, recovering my strength. But I watch, and when she needs me, I will come." The dream dissolved. Cale woke with a gasp. Sweat covered his body. The ship hummed around him, peaceful and normal. He checked his chronometer. Only 2 hours had passed. He got up and walked to where Lyra slept. She looked so normal in that moment. Just a baby, peaceful and innocent. But the mark on her forehead glowed softly, pulsing in rhythm with her breathing. "A bridge between worlds," Kyle whispered. "No pressure then." Lyra stirred but did not wake. Over the next few days, Cale changed his plans. He could not return to civilized space, not yet. If the Concordium was searching for Lyra, he needed to stay away from populated areas. He altered his course, heading for the frontier regions where law and order were thin. He also started noticing things about Lyra, small things that would mean nothing by themselves, but together painted a strange picture. She understood him. When he talked to her, she watched his face with intense focus. And she responded, not with words, but with expressions that seemed far too knowing for a baby. Once he played music from his collection of old Earth songs. Most of it Lyra ignored. But when a particular piece came on, something in an ancient language Kale did not know, her eyes lit up. She made excited sounds and waved her arms. It was as if she recognized it. Another time, Kyle was studying navigation charts when his ship's computer spoke an alert in Galactic Common. Lyra, sitting in her nest nearby, babbled something. It was baby talk, meaningless sounds, but the rhythm, the pattern of it matched the computer's speech perfectly. As if she was trying to copy the language. "You're going to be trouble, aren't you?" Kale said, looking at her. Lyra laughed and clapped her tiny hands. On the 8th day, Kale's sensors picked up something. A ship large and fast, following a search pattern. It was still far away, but it would cross his path within a day if he maintained course. His computer identified the vessel. Concordia Military. A scout ship designed for long-range patrol. Kale's heart hammered. Were they looking for him? For Lyra, or was this just bad luck? He changed course, burning more fuel than he liked. The scout ship altered its pattern, still not heading directly for him, but definitely adjusting. They knew something was out here. Kale made a decision. He shut down all non-essential systems, running silent. The ship went dark except for life support. He drifted, hoping the scout would pass by without noticing one small ship in the vastness of space. Hours crawled past. Lyra sensed his tension. She stayed quiet, watching him with those knowing eyes. The scout ship came closer. On his passive sensors, Kale watched it move through space. It was searching, methodically covering every sector. They came within 1,000 kilometers. Close enough that Kale could see the ship's outline. It was sleek and dangerous, bristling with weapons and sensors. Kale held his breath. In her nest, Lyra closed her eyes. The mark on her forehead dimmed until it was barely visible. The scout ship slowed, stopped. For 5 terrible minutes, it hung in space, scanning. Then it moved on. Kyle waited another hour before he dared to power up his systems. When he did, his hands shook so badly he could barely work the controls. Lyra opened her eyes. The mark brightened again. She looked at him and smiled. "Did you just hide us?" Kale asked, amazed. "Did you make them not see us?" Lyra gurgled and grabbed at a blanket. Kale laughed, a sound that was half relief and half hysteria. Okay, we can do this. We just need to be smart. Stay hidden. Keep moving." He plotted a new course, this time heading for a region called the Scattered Stars. It was a dangerous area, full of asteroid fields and failing colonies, but it was also a place where questions were not asked, where someone could disappear. 3 years had passed. 3 years of running, hiding, and learning. Kyle had become something he never expected, a father. He taught Lyra to walk, holding her small hands as she took wobbly steps across the ship's narrow cabin. He taught her words, pointing at objects and saying their names until she repeated them back in her clear, bright voice. She was different from other children. She learned too fast, understood too much. At 3 years old, she could speak in full sentences. She knew the names of every system they passed through. She could read simple text on the computer screens, but she was also perfectly, wonderfully human in so many ways. She laughed at silly jokes. She cried when she fell down. She loved stories, especially the old Earth tales Kyle remembered from his childhood. Her favorite was about a girl who climbed a beanstalk into the clouds. "Tell it again, Papa," she would say, using the name she had chosen for him, and Kale would tell the story again, watching her eyes grow wide at the exciting parts. They lived on the edges of civilized space. Kale took odd jobs, mapping asteroid fields for mining companies, running supplies to remote outposts. He never stayed in one place long, never made friends. It was safer that way. The mark on Lyra's forehead had not faded. She could make it disappear when strangers were around, a trick she learned on her own, but when it was just the two of them, it glowed softly. a constant reminder of what she was. Her abilities had grown too. She could sense ships before they appeared on sensors. Once she told Kale that a storm was coming when the sky was clear. 2 hours later, a massive solar flare nearly destroyed their ship. Only because they had moved to shelter did they survive. She could also heal. When Kale cut his hand badly on a sharp piece of metal, Lyra placed her small palm over the wound. The mark on her forehead blazed bright. Warmth spread through Kale's hand. When she pulled away, the cut was gone. Not healed. Gone. As if it had never been. Lyra, you can't show anyone else these things, Kale warned her. People wouldn't understand. They might be scared. I know, Papa, she said seriously. I only help you. But keeping her secret became harder as she grew older. Other children in the settlements asked why her eyes sometimes flashed with light, why she never got sick, why she seemed to know things before they happened. Kale knew they could not run forever. Eventually, someone would ask too many questions. Eventually, the Concordium would find them. That day came on a cold station orbiting a dying red star. Kale was buying supplies when he heard the commotion. Shouting, the sound of weapons charging. He grabbed the supply container and ran back toward his ship. Lyra was in the docking bay, frozen in place. 3 Concordium soldiers surrounded her, their weapons pointed at her small body. A 4th figure stood behind them, tall and reptilian, covered in dark blue scales. His eyes were cold and intelligent. Do not move, human, the reptilian said. His voice was smooth and dangerous. We have been searching for this child for a long time. Kale's blood turned to ice. He set down the container slowly, raising his hands. She's just my daughter. There's been a mistake. No mistake, the reptilian said. He stepped forward, studying Lyra with intense interest. We detected a primordial awakening 3 years ago. We have tracked energy signatures across this sector ever since, and now we find a human child with primordial markers. He gestured at Lyra's forehead, where the mark glowed despite her attempts to hide it. I don't know what you're talking about, Kale said. Please, she's just a child. She is a weapon, the reptilian said. Or she will be if allowed to mature. I am Commander Zareth, and I speak for the Concordium. This child represents a threat to galactic stability. She will come with us. No, Lyra said. Her voice was small but clear. I stay with Papa. Zareth's expression did not change. You have no choice, child. One of the soldiers moved toward Lyra. She backed away, fear bright in her eyes. The mark on her forehead began to pulse faster. Don't touch her, Kale said, stepping forward. A soldier pointed a weapon at his chest. He stopped but did not back down. Please, she's done nothing wrong. She's just a little girl. She is an abomination, Zareth said coldly. A mixing of primordial and human that should never have been created. The old powers should have remained asleep. Your species should have remained limited. Limited. Kale felt anger rising through his fear. You mean controlled. You want to keep humanity small and weak because you're afraid of what we might become. We maintain order, Zareth said. We have kept this galaxy peaceful for 10,000 years. Your kind, with your ambition and your recklessness, threaten that peace. By existing? Kale shouted. We threaten you by simply being alive? Zareth did not answer. He gestured to his soldiers. Take the child. Kill the human if he interferes. Everything happened at once. The soldier reached for Lyra. She screamed a sound of pure fear and desperation. The mark on her forehead exploded with light. The soldier was thrown backward, hitting the docking bay wall hard enough to dent the metal. Lyra, no, Kale yelled, but it was too late. The other soldiers opened fire. Kyle dove toward Lyra, trying to shield her with his body. He expected to feel the burning pain of energy weapons. Instead, space itself seemed to tear. A massive shape exploded into existence above them. The docking bay's roof simply disappeared, peeled away like paper. And there, filling the sky, was Valthur. The dragon was even more magnificent than Kale remembered. Its scales blazed with colors that hurt to look at. Its eyes, those galaxies within eyes, focused on the scene below. And from its throat came a sound that shook the entire station. Not a roar. Something deeper. A vibration that Kale felt in his bones, in his teeth, in his soul. Every weapon in the bay died. Every light went dark. The soldiers fell to their knees, clutching their heads. Even Zareth stumbled backward, his cold composure finally broken. Valthur descended, moving with impossible grace for something so huge. It landed in the docking bay, crushing metal under its weight. The soldiers scattered, running for their lives. Only Zareth remained, though his legs shook. "You dare threaten my ward?" Felthir's voice echoed in all their minds. It was full of ancient power and barely controlled rage. "The Concordium will not allow this," Zareth said, trying to sound brave. "More ships will come. Armies will come. You cannot protect them forever." "Perhaps not," Velthir said. The dragon's massive head swung toward Kale and Lyra. "But I can give them a chance." The dragon's eyes glowed brighter. Kale felt energy building in the air, making his hair stand on end. Around them, the docking bay began to shimmer and warp. "Hold the child," Velthir commanded. Kale grabbed Lyra and pulled her close. She buried her face in his chest, her small body trembling, space twisted. Colors that had no names swirled around them. Kale felt like he was being pulled apart and put back together at the same time. He held Lyra tighter, afraid that if he let go, she would be lost forever. And then suddenly it was over. They were no longer in the docking bay. They were not even in the same system. Kale's sensors, barely functioning after the transition, showed they were thousands of light years away from where they had been. Velthir was with them, but the dragon looked wrong. Its colors were dimmer. Its movements were slower. The effort of transporting them so far had taken a terrible toll. "Where are we?" Kyle asked, his voice shaking. "A place called Haven's Gate," Velthir said. Below them, Kale saw a planet. It was small and green, orbiting a yellow star. A human colony, far from the major trade routes. "Refugees and outcasts. They will take you in. Will the Concordium find us here?" "Eventually," Velthir said. "But it will take time. Years, perhaps. Time for the child to grow. Time for her to learn." The dragon began to fade, becoming translucent. It was disappearing, returning to wherever primordials went when they were not needed. "Wait," Kyle said. "What do I do? How do I protect her?" "Raise her," Velthir said. The dragon's voice was growing distant. "Teach her what it means to be human. Not the power she possesses, but the choices she makes. Humanity's strength does not come from abilities or weapons. It comes from the stubborn refusal to give up. From compassion even for enemies. From hope when there is no reason to hope." "That's not much of a weapon against an empire," Kale said bitterly. "It is the only weapon that matters," Velthir said. "The Concordium has power. It has weapons. It has armies. But it has forgotten why it exists. It maintains order for order's sake. It has lost its purpose, and humanity hasn't?" "Humanity is young enough to remember," the dragon said. "You still have hope. You still have dreams. That is why you were chosen. When will I see you again?" Lyra asked, speaking for the first time since the dragon appeared. Velthir's fading form focused on her. "When you are ready, little one. When you understand what you are and what you must become. I will sleep now. The journey here has weakened me greatly, but I am always watching, and when you truly need me, I will come." The dragon vanished completely. Only a faint shimmer in space showed where it had been. Kale stood alone with Lyra in his ship, orbiting a strange planet far from everything he knew. The ship's computer was damaged from the transition. They had maybe enough fuel for one landing. Their supplies would last a few days at most. He should have been terrified. Instead, he felt oddly calm. He looked down at Lyra. She had stopped crying. She looked up at him with those bright eyes and smiled. "We're going to be okay, Papa," she said with the strange certainty she sometimes had. "This is home now." "How do you know?" Kale asked. "I just do," she said. Kale powered up the damaged engines and set course for the planet. As they descended through the atmosphere, he saw mountains and forests, rivers and small settlements. It looked peaceful, like a place where someone could disappear, like a place where a small girl could grow up. "Haven's Gate," he whispered. "Okay, let's see what kind of home this will be." The ship shook as they entered the atmosphere. Lyra held onto his hand. The mark on her forehead pulsed gently like a heartbeat, like a promise. Below them, a new chapter of their lives waited, and somewhere far across the galaxy, Commander Zareth stood in the ruins of the docking bay and swore that he would find them, that he would finish what he started. The hunt was not over. It had only just begun. 12 years had changed everything. Haven's Gate had grown from a struggling outpost into a real community. 3,000 souls called it home now, most of them humans who had nowhere else to go. People running from debts, from wars, from pasts they wanted to forget. They built farms in the valleys and mines in the hills. They raised children and planted gardens and slowly turned a wild planet into a home. Kyle was no longer a lonely traveler. His hair had turned gray at the temples. Lines marked his face, carved there by worry and sun and the passage of time. The settlers elected him to the council, valuing his experience and calm judgment. He helped settle disputes, plan expansions, and guide the community through hard times. But he was still, first and always, Lyra's father. Lyra was 15 now. She had grown tall and strong, with her father's brown hair and those striking blue eyes that sometimes flashed with inner light. The mark on her forehead was always there, a spiral of light that she had long ago stopped trying to hide. The people of Haven's Gate knew she was different. They had seen her stop a wildfire with a gesture, watched her heal a child who fell from a cliff, stood in awe when she deflected a meteor that would have destroyed the main settlement. Some people loved her for it. Others feared her. Most were simply unsure what to think of the girl who could do impossible things. Lyra struggled with it all. She wanted to be normal, to have friends who did not look at her with wonder or fear, to go to the gatherings without people falling silent when she entered, to be just another teenager worrying about normal things, but she was not normal and she knew it. She sat on the hill above the settlement, looking at the stars. Kyle found her there, as he often did. He sat beside her without speaking, the way they had learned to be together over the years. "They're scared of me again," Lyra said finally. "Tom's mother won't let him talk to me anymore." "What happened?" Kyle asked gently. "Nothing. That's the problem." Lyra pulled her knees to her chest. "We were just talking. About normal things. School chores, stupid stuff. And then my eyes did the thing." She gestured at her face. They glowed for just a second. "And Tom jumped back like I was going to hurt him." "You would never hurt anyone," Kale said. "I know that. You know that. But they don't." Lyra's voice broke. "Sometimes I wish I was just normal. Just a regular girl." Kyle put his arm around her shoulders. "I know it's hard, but you're not regular and pretending won't change that. The question is, what do you do with what you are?" "What can I do?" Lyra asked. "I'm not human enough for humans, and I'm not whatever the dragon is. I'm stuck in between." "You're human where it counts," Kale said firmly. "Not because of what you can do, but because of what you choose to do. Every time you help someone. Every time you show kindness when it would be easier to turn away. Every time you try, even when people make it hard. That's what makes you human." Lyra leaned against him. "Tell me again." "About Earth. About what humans used to be." So Kale told her stories. Stories passed down through generations of humans who had left Earth behind to spread among the stars. Stories of struggle and triumph, of people who faced impossible odds and won through stubbornness and hope. He told her about the early colonists who landed on Mars with nothing but basic tools and built cities under the red sky. About the generation ships that traveled for centuries to reach new worlds. About the wars and diseases and disasters that nearly destroyed humanity, and how people always found a way to survive. "We're not the strongest species," Kale said, "or the smartest or the longest lived. But we don't quit. When everyone says it's impossible, we try anyway. When we fail, we get up and try again. That's our gift, Lyra. That's what makes humanity special." "Is that why the dragon chose us?" Lyra asked. "Chose me?" "I think so," Kale said. "Velther saw something in humans worth preserving. Worth protecting, and somehow you're the bridge between what we are and what we could be." They sat in comfortable silence, watching the stars. It was peaceful. For a moment, Lyra allowed herself to just be a girl sitting with her father, without worrying about what she was or what she was supposed to become. That peace shattered 3 days later. The alarms woke the settlement just before dawn. Kale ran from his bed already knowing what it meant. He had dreaded this day for 12 years. Ships filled the sky, not just one or two, but dozens. Concordium warships, sleek and deadly, dropping through the atmosphere in perfect formation. They surrounded the settlement, weapons powered and ready. People poured from their homes, confused and terrified. Children cried. Adults grabbed whatever weapons they could find, though everyone knew those weapons were useless against military vessels. Kale ran to find Lyra. She stood in the center of the main square, looking up at the ships. Her face was calm but pale. The mark on her forehead blazed bright. "I knew this would happen," she said quietly as Kale reached her. "I've dreamed about it." "We'll find a way," Kyle said, though he had no idea how. We'll run, we'll hide, No more running, Papa, Lyra said. She took his hand. I'm tired of running. The largest ship landed in the square, its engines scorching the ground. A ramp lowered. And down that ramp walked a figure Cale recognized despite the years that had passed. Commander Zareth had not aged. His blue scales were still perfect. His cold eyes still held that calculating intelligence. But there was something new there, too. An obsession. A hunger. 12 years, Zareth said. His voice echoed across the silent square. 12 years I have searched. Do you know how many worlds I visited? How many leads I followed? But I never stopped. I never forgot. You found us, Cale said, stepping in front of Lyra. Congratulations. Now what? Now I finish what I started, Zareth said. He gestured and soldiers poured from the ships. Hundreds of them surrounding the settlement. The child comes with me. The rest of you will be relocated. This planet will be marked as restricted space. No, said Elder Mara, the settlement's oldest resident. She stepped forward, her wrinkled face set with determination. This is our home. You have no right. I have every right, Zareth said. The Concordium's authority extends to all civilized space. And you harbor a threat to galactic stability. She's a child, Mara said. Our child. She saved lives here, protected us. She's part of our community. She is an abomination, Zareth said coldly, and you are all complicit in hiding her. More settlers stepped forward, forming a line between the soldiers and Lyra. Young and old, they stood together. Tom was there despite his mother's fear. Sarah, who Lyra had healed when a mining accident crushed her leg. Marcus, whose farm Lyra had saved from flood. Dozens of others, people who had lived alongside Lyra for years. You'll have to go through us, Marcus said. Zareth looked at them with something like pity. Very well. He raised his hand. The soldiers raised their weapons. No! Lyra screamed. She pushed past Cale, past the line of defenders. Power crackled around her, making the air shimmer. Stop, please stop. I'll go with you. Just don't hurt them. Lyra, no, Cale grabbed her arm. You can't. She looked at him with tears streaming down her face. I can't let them die for me, Papa, I can't. Wise choice, Zareth said. Come, child. It's time to end this, but Cale would not let go. Could not let go. He thought of finding her beside the dragon, of teaching her to walk, of every moment over 15 years, of becoming a father when he thought he would always be alone. You're not taking her, he said. His voice was steady despite the fear coursing through him. Then you die with the others, Zareth said. He nodded to his soldiers. Fire on my command. Time seemed to slow. Cale saw the weapons charging, saw Lyra's face desperate and afraid, saw the settlers standing firm despite knowing they could not win. And something broke inside him. Not his courage, not his hope, but something else. A dam that had held back words he had carried for 15 years. You want to know what makes humans dangerous? Cale shouted. His voice rang across the square. It's not our weapons, not our technology. It's this, right here. He gestured at the settlers standing with him. You came with an army, with ships and guns and the full might of your empire, and we're standing here, farmers and miners and regular people with nothing but our lives, and we're not moving. Foolish, Zareth said. Maybe, Cale agreed. But we do foolish things. We stand when we should run. We fight when we should surrender. We hope when there's no reason to hope, because that's what humans do. We decide that some things are worth dying for. He looked at Lyra. She's not a weapon. She's not a threat. She's my daughter. Our daughter. He gestured at the community, and we don't abandon our children no matter what they are or what they can do. Touching, Zareth said. But words won't stop weapons. No, said a voice from everywhere and nowhere, a voice that made the ground shake and the sky ripple. But I will. Space tore open above them, and Valther returned. The dragon was smaller than before, Cale noticed. Weaker. The journey here had cost it dearly. But it was still magnificent, still terrible, still a being of ancient power. You dare? Zareth said, but fear colored his voice now. I dare, Valther said. This is my ward. These are her people. And you will not harm them. We developed a weapon, Zareth said. He pulled a device from his belt. In the years since you escaped, a weapon designed to kill primordials. To kill you, he activated the device. A beam of pure energy lanced out, striking Valther in the chest. The dragon roared in pain, a sound that shook the world. Its form flickered. Papa, Lyra screamed. She pulled free from Kale's grip and ran toward the dragon. Lyra, no! Kale ran after her, but he was not fast enough. Could never be fast enough. Zareth turned the weapon on them. The beam charged, ready to fire. Kale threw himself forward, trying to shield Lyra with his body. The beam fired, and Kale felt it tear through him. Pain exploded through Kale's chest. He felt himself falling, the world spinning around him. The sky, the ground, Lyra's face above him all blurred together. He tried to breathe but could not. His lungs would not work. Blood pooled beneath him, warm and spreading. Papa! Lyra's scream seemed to come from very far away. Papa, no, no, no! Her hands pressed against his chest. He felt warmth spreading from her touch. The mark on her forehead blazing so bright it hurt to look at. She was trying to heal him, trying to save him the way she had saved others before. But this wound was different. Too deep, too much damage. Even Lyra's power had limits. It's okay, Kale whispered. Or tried to. He was not sure if the words came out. It's okay. Don't leave me, Lyra sobbed. Please don't leave me. Kyle wanted to tell her that everything would be all right. That she would be fine. That she was strong enough to face whatever came next. But the darkness was closing in. He had time for only one more thing. Remember, he managed to say, not human. Because of what you can do, human, because of what you choose. And then the darkness took him. Lyra felt her father go still beneath her hands, felt his heart stop beating, felt the life leave his body despite everything she tried. Something inside her shattered. Not broke, shattered into a million pieces, each one sharp and cutting and full of pain. The mark on her forehead exploded with light. Energy poured from her, wild and uncontrolled. The ground cracked beneath her. The air itself seemed to scream. You killed him, she said. Her voice was quiet but carried across the entire square. She stood slowly, leaving her father's body on the ground. You killed my father. Zareth stepped back, his cold composure finally cracking. The weapon fell from his hand. I was protecting the galaxy, following orders, maintaining stability. Stability? Lyra's eyes blazed with power. Her body began to transform, becoming something more than flesh. Energy flowed through her like blood. You maintain control. You maintain power. You don't protect. You don't serve. You just rule. Valthir, wounded and weak, watched from above. Lyra, the dragon said softly. Child, listen to me. But Lyra was beyond listening. The grief and rage inside her had become a storm. Power crackled around her, building, growing, becoming something that could destroy the entire planet if unleashed. I could end you, she said to Zareth. All of you. Every soldier, every ship. I could tear your empire apart, then do it, Zareth said, finding his courage again. Prove that we were right to fear you. Prove that you are the threat we always knew you were. Lyra raised her hand. Energy gathered there. Enough to reduce the Concordium fleet to atoms. Enough to make the sky burn. Lyra. Elder Mara's voice cut through the rage. Look at us. Look at your people. Lyra turned. The settlers stood in a circle around her, their faces filled with grief and fear, but not fear of her. Fear for her. Your father died to protect you, Mara said. Her voice was gentle but firm. Would he want you to become what they say you are? Would he want you to destroy out of anger? They killed him, Lyra said. Her voice broke. They took him from me. I know, child, Mara said, and that pain won't go away. But Kale taught you better than this. He taught you that being human isn't about power. It's about choice. Lyra looked at her hand, at the destructive energy gathered there. She could feel it wanting to be released, wanting to hurt those who had hurt her. And then she remembered. She remembered her father teaching her to read, patient when she struggled with difficult words. Remembered him singing her to sleep when she had nightmares. Remembered every story he told about humanity, about people who chose compassion over vengeance, hope over despair. You're not human because of what you can do, she whispered, repeating his last words. You're human because of what you choose to do. The energy in her hand flickered, faded, disappeared, but the transformation did not reverse. Lyra had changed into something new, something that was both human and primordial, both mortal and eternal. She existed in two states at once, her body shimmering between flesh and pure energy. She turned to face Zareth and his soldiers. I choose not to kill you, she said, even though you deserve it, even though every part of me wants revenge. Then you are weak, Zareth said. No, Lyra said. I am human. She reached out with her power, not to destroy but to show. Every soldier, every crew member on every ship, suddenly experienced something they could not explain. They felt Lyra's memories, her entire life flowing through their minds in seconds. They felt what it was like to be found beside a sleeping dragon, to be raised by a lonely traveler who became a father, to grow up different, struggling to fit in, trying to be normal when nothing about you was normal. They felt every moment of kindness Kale showed her, every lesson, every story, every time he chose patience over anger, understanding over judgment. They felt what it meant to be human. Not perfect, not always right, but always trying, always hoping, always choosing to be better than circumstances demanded. And they felt the pain of loss, the hole left behind when someone you love is taken away. The grief that threatened to consume everything but was held back by memory and choice and the determination to honor what was lost. The soldiers lowered their weapons. Some fell to their knees. Others simply stood, stunned and changed. Even Zareth was not immune. His cold facade crumbled. For the first time in his long life, he understood what he had destroyed. Not just a life, but a relationship. A father and daughter. A community. Hope itself. I was wrong, he whispered. The words seemed torn from him. We were all wrong. Valther descended, landing gently beside Lyra. The dragon was fading, its time in this world ending. You have done what I hoped you would, the ancient being said. You showed them not with violence, but with understanding. Not with fear, but with compassion. It hurts, Lyra said. Tears streamed down her face. Papa's gone, and it hurts so much. I know, little one, Valther said gently. That pain is the price of love. It never fully goes away. But it means he mattered, that what you shared was real and precious. The dragon's form became translucent. I must return now. The energy to come here and survive the weapon has exhausted me. I will sleep for a long time. Will I see you again? Lyra asked. Perhaps, Valther said. Or perhaps you no longer need me. You have become what you were always meant to be. A bridge between worlds, between human and primordial, between what is and what could be. The dragon vanished, leaving only a whisper in Lyra's mind. Make him proud, Lyra turned to the settlement. To the people who had become her family. I need to bury him, she said. On the hill where we used to watch the stars. He would like that. They buried Kale at sunset. The entire community came, standing silent as they lowered him into the ground. Lyra placed a simple marker, carved with words that said everything important. Kyle. Father. Friend. He taught us that being human is a choice. In the days that followed, things changed quickly. Zareth returned to the Concordium and told them everything. Not just about Lyra, but about what she had shown them, about the understanding she had forced upon them. The Concordium's High Council was skeptical at first, but as more soldiers and crew members returned, all telling the same story, all fundamentally changed by what they had experienced, the council had to listen. A new policy was proposed. Not to control humanity, but to welcome them. Not to fear their potential, but to learn from it. It would take time, maybe generations, for old fears and prejudices to fade. But a start was made. Lyra was invited to speak before the Galactic Council. She stood in a chamber filled with representatives from 1,000 worlds, all watching her with curiosity and caution. My father was just a mapper, she told them, a lonely traveler who stumbled upon something impossible. He could have left me there, could have run away, but he chose to stay, chose to care, chose to love. She looked at each representative in turn. That's what humans do. They make impossible choices. They hope when there's no reason to hope. They care when it would be easier to turn away. They're not perfect. They make mistakes, but they keep trying. And what about you? Asked a delegate from a silicon-based species. What will you do with your power? I'll do what my father did, Lyra said. I'll explore. I'll learn. I'll help where I can, and I'll try to build bridges between different worlds, different species, different ways of thinking. You could rule, another delegate said. With your power, you could force us to listen. I could, Lyra agreed. But I won't, because I'm human and humans believe in choice. In freedom, in the right of all beings to determine their own path. She smiled, though sadness still touched her eyes. My father spent his last breath teaching me that lesson. I won't waste his sacrifice, the council voted that day. Humanity would be welcomed into the galactic community as equals, not as subjects or threats. Haven's Gate became a symbol, a place where different species came to learn about human culture and values. Lyra became an ambassador, though not in any official sense. She traveled the stars just as her father once had, but now she was not alone. She carried his memory, his lessons, his love. She visited worlds in crisis and helped where she could, not by using her power to fix problems, but by showing people how to help themselves, by teaching them what Kale had taught her, that the greatest strength comes not from what you can do, but from what you choose to do. Years passed. Decades. Lyra did not age the way normal humans did. She would live for centuries, maybe longer, but she remained human in the ways that mattered. She returned to Haven's Gate often, to the hill where Kyle was buried, to sit and watch the stars the way they used to together. "I miss you, Papa," she would say, every single day. "But I understand now why you said what you said, why you spent your last words teaching me one more lesson." She touched the marker on his grave. "Being human isn't about how long you live or what powers you have. It's about compassion, about hope, about choosing to care even when it costs you everything." She looked up at the stars, at the vast galaxy full of wonders and mysteries. "You were just a lonely traveler once, but you gave me everything. You showed me what it means to be human, and I'll spend the rest of my very long life trying to share that gift with others." The wind blew softly across the hill. The mark on Lyra's forehead pulsed gently, a reminder of what she was. But in her heart, where it mattered most, she was simply Kale's daughter, a human who chose compassion, a bridge between worlds, a proof that humanity deserved its place among the stars. And somewhere in dreams deeper than sleep, Valther smiled. The gamble had paid off. Humanity's future was secure. Not because of weapons or technology, but because of one lonely traveler who chose to love an impossible child, and that child who chose to honor his memory by being the best of what humanity could be. The stars shone bright above Haven's Gate, and on a hill overlooking the settlement, a girl who was more than human but chose to remain human in all the ways that mattered, kept vigil over her father's grave. "Thank you," she whispered to the wind, "for finding me, for raising me, for teaching me that being human is the greatest gift of all." And if the wind whispered back, carrying words of love and pride from wherever Kale's spirit had gone, only Lyra heard them, and she smiled through her tears, knowing that some bonds could never be broken, not by death, not by time, not by all the vast distance of space. She was her father's daughter, and that would always be enough.